And you're live with the guy. Thank you for joining me and everybody that tuned in yesterday, the 4 or 5 viewers that we had. We had a few audio issues, so I guess I'll give a little bit longer of an introduction, and then Nat, who's off camera, she's kind of the producer and the switcher. She is going to let me know when we have good audio. Why don't you say hi to everybody so they know your voice?
Hello.
You'll be hearing her reading the articles and things like that. We have another channel called Nat and the Guy Espanol, so if you do speak Spanish, she has her own show at 8 p.m. Mexico City time on Nat and the Guy Espanol. And then we do another show on this channel every night at 9:15. Is the audio come through yet?
Yes, and Rafa says, hi, Guy.
Oh, wow. I got my first live viewer.
Comment.
My first comment. And the audio's all good today? Okay. I can't blame anybody for tuning out yesterday because it was silent for about 5 minutes. Okay, let's get right into this. I started with a couple easy clips before we get into the news. There is a ton of news today, so I'm not sure I'm going to get through it all, but I'll do my best. Whatever I don't get to, I will review on the night show with Nat.
And hello, Rafa, because he said hi, Nat.
Okay, let's go into, before we go into the clip about Edmonton, this is a story about 15-minute cities in Edmonton. Now, we have Mark Carney, who has become the Prime Minister of Canada, and there's a lot of news about him today because he did meet with Trump, and that was a shit show of a meeting. But before we get into what happened with Mark Carney and Trump, let's talk about 15-minute cities he's got planned for Edmonton. He really wants to flood Alberta with immigrants so they don't lose another vote and a separatist vote won't be possible. And one of their big plans is to flood with immigrants and build these 15-minute cities. They're currently building massive housing units to bring in these immigrants for a voter block and so they can avoid separation. Why don't we play the clip real quick?
Yes.
This is from X.
Getting used to the new setup.
We're getting used to the new setup. It's all new technology on this side. Our night show is more of a permanent setup. This setup's kind of if we ever travel, this is the one we take with us.
Yes.
Did you hear what they're trying to do in Edmonton, Alberta?
After 3 years of planning, city administration is presenting its vision to accommodate a population of 2 million people through 15-minute cities. 3 days of public hearings on the plan began at City Hall this morning. Shailen Skulski has more.
The 15 new district plans and corresponding bylaws will replace 54 existing planning documents dating back to the 1980s. Administration says the goal is to accommodate 600,000 new residents in redeveloped areas.
So this is 600,000 new residents they want to bring in. Where do they get these new residents? The only way to bring in 600,000 residents is literally immigration. All of Alberta as a province only has a population of 4.4 million. So 600,000 will be a dramatic percentage of the polls when they bring those in. And that is just phase one. After they have that accomplished, they're going to start in phase 2 and phase 3. Now, my idea of 15-minute cities has changed it a little bit now that I live in Mexico City. But as far as Canada goes, I don't think it's a good idea. Let's continue with the clip.
With 50% of all new home units added through infill. The plan also calls for half of all future travel to be done by transit and for residents to access all their daily needs within 15 minutes. Not everyone supports the plan.
My understanding is that this means I will need to stay within my district to meet all my needs so that the city can meet its climate plan objectives.
I don't think Edmontonians can afford to be part of a renovation experiment of this size so quickly.
I think unfortunately a lot of the district plan in particular have been derailed by 15-minute cities, conspiracy theories, World Economic Forums, etc. At the end of the day, this is about land use.
Now, they're selling it to you as...
Okay, that's good. So this is a little bit crazy. Canada is an extremely cold weather country, and it's also extremely spread out. So if they can literally keep people in their little pockets in their 15-minute cities, they're going to try all kinds of psyops and things like this on the Canadian people. They'll be able to propagandize different sectors of society, things like this within Canada. Canada is well known for psyoping their own population. The reason I bring this up is the Canadian government just admitted to it. The Canadian military during the say a couple of years ago during the jibby jab situation we had in Canada, the Canadian military said that was the perfect opportunity to run propaganda campaigns and to test out their propaganda arm, which was absolutely insane that they're saying that out loud now. So these 15-minute cities are going to come with a lot of things that I just don't know I really want. It's going to give massive control to the Canadian federal government. And I used to live in Canada. It's nice to be able to travel freely where you want, when you want, and how you want. My idea of 15-minute cities has changed somewhat since I've moved to Mexico City. And it seems like I don't leave my little 15-minute city, but nothing's enforced in Mexico. There's just so much traffic, so much overcrowding. Everything I really need is in my little 15-minute district, but they're not telling me I can't leave. Once in a while, I will wander out my side of my 15 minutes. But for the most part, I don't want to have to drive anywhere in Mexico City. So it's kind of a self-imposed 15-minute city, which I think that's what we should be going for as a free society. When you start implementing these 15-minute cities, such as they did in Australia, you were literally having to show your ID to get out of your district, things like this. We know where this can go. They've implemented 15-minute cities in China where you're literally not allowed outside of your district. So I think freedom first, and you can get people to adopt 15-minute cities if you have proper building planning. They'll necessarily not want to buy a car because it will save them a lot of money if all the stores and everything are nearby. I know in Canada, I had a motorcycle and Nat had a car, but we rarely used it because we chose to pay more for rent and live downtown so we can be in walking distance of everything. But everybody can't afford to live downtown. So if there's not proper planning in a city and you live in a shitty district, how do they expect you to get your resources and things like that? What do you think about 15-minute cities there, Nat?
Well, I think it could work, but exactly not when they're imposed.
Yeah, not when they're imposed. Okay, let's go into this next clip, and I just kind of brought this in. It's a double standard that I don't know if you know who Charlie Kirk is, but he's a conservative in the United States. And he says it pretty blunt and plainly, but I think everything he is saying is true. Why don't we play the clip and then we can talk a little bit about it now?
Sure.
Then I know Nat hates the TikTok, but I don't mind it.
Black people are allowed to talk about black culture in a way that white culture cannot. For example, black people can go up and say that there's a baby mama problem in black America, and white people are not allowed to say that. Oh, I just did, so what are you gonna do, cancel me? Black people are allowed to say, I'm a grown man, I got way too much to worry about. Black people are allowed to say that there is a systemic fraud issue within the PP loan application in black America. Black people are much easier to be able to say that black individuals, despite being 13% of the American population, commit 55% of the murders. If most white people say that at a job, they would get fired for being a racist. I don't care because I say whatever I want. So black individuals have much more intellectual public freedom than white people do. If a white person were to come up and say, you know, black America really needs to get its act together and stop sleeping around all the time and needs to actually have monopoly. Why would you because it's true. Because it's true. Just walk up to someone and talk
Pause it for a quick sec. So yeah, he's saying because it is true, and a lot of this stuff is true. The black community has really gone downhill. There has been a lot of propaganda campaigns, maybe a lot from the federal government itself, who knows? But as far as music, movies, everything that's propagated to the black community does not help the black community out. When slavery and segregation first ended, the black community had its own banks. They really had black role models in the community. In my opinion, one of the big downfalls of the black community were when black fathers were taken out of the home. Two major things contributed to that, arrest rates of black fathers. But number two, the government subsidized black fathers out of the home by giving welfare payments to mothers that were single mothers and didn't have a father in the home. So a lot of black females actually got red or chose to live by themselves so they can get a larger subsidy payment. Okay, let's continue here.
Outside. Well, hold on, because hold on. Let's look at the evidence. You said to myself, you said there's all these people suffering in Chicago. There's all these people that are terrible. I'm telling you why. It's because there's been bad decisions that have been institutionalized. Let me finish. And rap artists and athletes and people at the top level of black society that refuse to ever challenge the core rot in black America, which is that they are allowing degeneracy and hedonism to eat the soul of what once was a beautiful black culture.
The black community used to be a highly religious community. It is still there, but not how it used to be. It used to be ingrained in that community, and that's when that community was striving at its highest, when it was putting family first. Over the generations, it seems like it's become family last, maybe in part on their own doing, but also in part of external doing. But until people actually start being honest with the black community and they start identifying the actual problems, they're never going to have an opportunity to fix it. Okay, let's continue.
And instead, they go around saying it's the boogeyman of racism, the white man is out to get you, and the result is black America is doing worse than it was in the 1960s. That is the contention, period.
It's not just, it's a cultural, it's so much deeper than the present day we are in. I don't know why you're pretending like it just doesn't matter.
What doesn't matter? You mean things that happen? Again, I've been through this multiple times. Let me just ask you
but
one.
You're not listening to understand.
No,
you're listening to reply.
No, I'm doing both actually, and so.
How
But
much
let me
time is
just
left?
ask one final question, right? Which is that you have your entire future ahead of you.
Okay, pause it for a quick second. Right now, a lot of communities have bought into this identity politics, which Barack Obama brought in, which is this victim mentality. Government daddy needs to help us, rather than the community coming together and striving for better. And that's kind of what needs to happen. And the United States as a whole really needs to come together and strive for better. But we are starting to see a change in the black community, and that is through conservatism. Conservatism preaches responsibility. And in the last election, you've seen Black America really vote for Trump and conservatism and a lot of new populist ideas. This is really affecting the next generation of hopefully Black Americans. Well, yeah, even though some of it may not be their fault, all you can do is go from this day forward and try to strive for a better tomorrow. Okay, let's continue.
When you are hired for a job, would you rather be hired because of your race or because of how qualified you are?
It doesn't boil down to just that.
That's what DEI is, man.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's
It is
not.
definitionally the hiring of people.
They're not just going to immediately see. They're going
You get extra points if you're black with DEI. That's how it works. Racial quotas elevate people based on the color of their skin.
So do you think I got extra points to come here?
I don't know. You said you were qualified. But affirmative action was institutionalized in Harvard and in Texas and a lot of other places. We know this. So I again, TU, we don't like them, right? So, but again, I just want to I want to just repeat this point. Where can I go to work that you can?
It's not just that.
Exactly. There is nothing that is preventing black people from prospering. Nothing. The only thing is that you guys have been hypnotized to be victims of your own mind, to think as if there's a white person out to get you.
Okay, and this is also saying that DEI has really favored certain identity groups over others. Blacks, Latinos, and this get more DEI points when they apply for colleges and jobs, where Asians and whites get less. So it kind of puts one group above another. Also, in reality, it says in college institutions, is there something mentally wrong with people that they can't strive for the same SAT standards and things like this? I understand Asian people work extremely hard and they have the highest SATs, and they disproportionately would get into college if it was an equal playing field. And I really have no problem with that. I'm more about meritocracy than this DEI putting one group above another. So I just wanted to bring that clip up. I found it interesting, and I do like when people are brutally honest with their opinions, even if everybody doesn't agree with them. Okay, what is the next story? The next story I kind of went into last night, but there is a ton more. And by the way, I was looking down over here. My dog was chewing on all the lights and cords, and she was farting, and it was just horrible. Do you have anything to say about that?
No, she's a Frenchie, so they're well known for that. She's usually very well behaved, and she behaves around the cables quite well.
Yeah, she got
used to it.
I don't know what the hell she was doing right now. Like right in front of my face, I'm going to chew your cord.
She was bored.
Okay, I talked a little bit about this story last night, but now I almost have like 3 or 4 different ways I'm coming at this. A lot of people have released statements, and this is the 100% tariff Trump is going to put on the movie industry. Any films that are made outside of the U.S., he is saying he's going to put 100% tariff on. We've had a lot of different people chime in on this, from Doug Ford to Trump himself to Gavin Newsom, and now the Teamsters have released a statement. This was a very important statement to me because me and Nat used to actually work for the Teamsters in Vancouver. Why don't we start with the article? Why don't you read a little bit of it there, Nat?
Sure. So, movie industry shocked and confused after Trump says he'll put 100% tariffs on films produced outside the U.S. This is nuts. President Donald Trump's plan to enforce 100% tariff on foreign-produced films was met with shock and disbelief across the European film industry. It was unclear how the levies, which were announced over the weekend on social media, would be enforced and which productions are most vulnerable to tariffs. Yet, there are widespread concerns that if they're enacted, Trump's latest moves have the potential...
Keep going further down in the article there.
Okay.
What does it say about Mel Gibson there?
So everything from low-budget indies to studio blockbusters are currently being made in countries like the UK, France, Germany, and Hungary. Even Mel Gibson, who is one of the 3 Hollywood special ambassadors appointed by Trump, the other 2 are Sylvester Stallone and Jon Voight, is currently planning to shoot his Passion of the Christ sequel in Italy.
And I have no problem with that because it's very important to shoot it in Italy and kind of have that authentic ambiance, especially for a movie like Passion of the Christ. So I would say that's a special case scenario. But Trump really, they're coming up with this plan, and I didn't know about it until I read another article, which was Make Hollywood Great Again. And I think Trump is really trying to transition Hollywood away from liberalism and back into normalcy. Do you have anything to say about this first article or no? Okay, let's go into the next part. This is a multi-part kind of segment here. Did you manage to get the Teamsters statement?
Yes.
Okay, and this is the logo we used to have on all of our beanies in the middle of the winter garden sets.
So Teamsters statement on President Trump's union job protecting film tariffs. What they said is the following is a statement from the Teamsters General President Sean M. O'Brien and Teamsters Motion Picture Division Director Lindsay Doherty on President Donald Trump's announcement. For years, Hollywood studios have hollowed out the industry by following corporate America's crooked playbook of outsourcing good union jobs. Studios chase cheap production costs overseas while gutting American workforce that built the film and TV industry. These gigantic corporations line their pockets by recklessly cutting corners, abandoning American crews, and exploiting tax loopholes abroad. While these companies get rich fleeing to other countries and gaming the system, our members have gotten screwed over. The Teamsters Union has been sounding the alarm for years. If studios want to benefit from the American box offices, they must invest in American workers. We thank President Trump for boldly supporting good union jobs when others have turned their heads. This is a strong step towards finally reigning the studio's un-American addiction to outsourcing our members' work. Teamsters applaud any elected official, Republican, Democrat, Independent, who's willing to fight for American workers. We look forward to continuing to work with the administration to build a trade agenda that benefits our members and workers throughout the American motion picture and TV industry. Sent to create good film jobs here at home by bringing production back to America.
And so they're basically backing Trump's play to the hilt. And this is huge because although a lot of Teamsters workers would back Trump, the higher up union heads would not. They were completely on board with Biden and taking corruption money and things like this. This is a realignment of the workers with their leadership, and it's a complete political switch for the leadership of the Teamsters. So this was a very interesting statement. They're basically completely on board. One thing that is a little, I would say, to mention is that Teamsters do operate primarily in the United States, but they also operate in Canada. So they do have a division within Canada. That's the division we work for. This would seriously hurt all Canadian Teamsters workers. But I think because the majority of their members work in the States, that's why they're back in this play. So we'll definitely have to see what happens. But it was a very interesting statement because I didn't expect them to back Trump like that at all.
And the Teamsters are also there's several unions for several different industries as well. So it's not just film and TV, but this was the film and TV division that released that statement.
So very interesting from the Teamsters. Okay, let's go into the next part of this. What was the next article you had lined up for this same story?
Jon Voight.
Jon Voight. Okay, let's go into Jon Voight here.
So Trump receives John Voight's plan to make Hollywood great again. Studio bosses not confirmed yet to meet president over movie tariffs.
Okay, and like they said, he had appointed John Voight, Sylvester Stallone, and Mel Gibson. I like all three of those actors, and I think they can head Hollywood in the right direction. They're getting a lot older now, so they're starting to become studio heads. If you don't know who John Voight is, she is the father of Angelina Jolie. Although they've had bad relationship in the past, they were on speaking terms for years because of his political agenda. He was a conservative. She wasn't. She's highly liberalized. That they are really a powerhouse, not just within the movie industry, but within politics. John Voight is highly linked with not only the conservative party, but the modern conservative and Trump populist movement. So he's a good crossover for politics and film and any kind of money that's going to come down from the federal government. But Angelina Jolie is highly involved with the Democratic Party. She's been a part of the UN, really part of this globalist movement. So it's very interesting. We have a father and a daughter who are on opposite sides of the political spectrum. But if they manage to come together for the good of Hollywood and the United States, they would really be one of the families that would be put to the forefront. Now, I'm not so sure about Angelina Jolie, especially after looking at how she's raised her kids and things like that. But do you have anything to say here? No. I also do like Mel Gibson. He really speaks up for morals in movies. He really puts his heart and soul behind a movie. He's not scared to take a risk, and he's really been shunned in Hollywood. So the fact that President Trump is putting him in the forefront of the Hollywood movement is great to see. He really had to put his money where his mouth is, and he was funding his own movies because Hollywood wouldn't fund them. Then theaters wouldn't let his movies into theaters when we seen The Passion of the Christ at first. So what did he do? He went directly to churches and funded pre-sales through churches, and then was able to pressure cinemas to get The Passion of the Christ in there. He's currently filming the sequel. I really like what Mel Gibson is doing, and Sylvester Stallone just kind of rounds out the bunch where he's doing hardcore action Americana movies. So we'll see if they can move the United States in the right direction, but it's good to see that Trump isn't just putting 100% tariff on Hollywood, or not Hollywood, outside movies made outside of the U.S. It's good that he has an envoy of people that know Hollywood inside and out, and to some degree have been shunned by the industry itself. So they have their eyes wide open to what's actually going on in Hollywood. They're not going to try to paint over it. And I think they're going to be straight shooters.
And so apparently some of John Voight's plan would be mid-sized federal tax credits, increased write-offs, and harsh tariffs on overseas incentives.
Yeah, so this is a great plan. So John Voight's coming with kind of like tax credits, but if you also put tariffs on foreign films, this prioritizes American movies, and then you subsidize American movies on top of that. And the American government has been subsidizing movies for decades. A lot of people don't know the CIA actually hires writers to write movies, and then they place these movies into certain studios' hands and get them made. Anytime U.S. military equipment is used in high budget films, the U.S. military always has final approval on what's in that film. So very interesting, the relationship, how it's always gone between government and Hollywood. There has always been a link there. Just in recent times, woke politics has really captured Hollywood, and a lot of this could be Chinese influence. So really trying to circle the wagons around Hollywood and have a real impact there on what's coming out. I'm interested to see what will happen, especially because I used to work in that industry. Okay, should we talk about, maybe not. I was going to talk about Doug Ford. He came out, but I kind of showed that clip last night. Mm-hmm. That was the MP of Ottawa. That's a province within Canada. The film industry in Canada is really big for Canada, but it's really small overall. And the day before the prime minister is going to go down and negotiate with Trump, really just gave it to Trump, talking about he doesn't know what he's doing. He's destroying the country with these tariffs. We have a lot of Hollywood movies that are filmed in Canada. It's $3 billion. We're going to get to $5 billion. I mean, he's almost undermining the negotiations that are happening today with Mark Carney and Trump. Actually, that kind of leads way into there. So rather than going directly to the next story, why don't we go to Mark Carney and Trump? They met today. I think I had some clips on X.
Found one of them.
Oh, you found one of them, or there's two?
I got one. I'm going to have to look for the other one after.
It should be the one directly above it.
Okay,
after.
Hold on.
Okay. Let's go. Before we go into this, after I got home, I do a little bit of rehabilitation every Tuesday. That's why I go on a little bit later. But
like body.
Yeah, body rehabilitation. My back is completely screwed. Some days I can't walk, but it's slowly getting better. The rehabilitation seems to be helping, but I mean, I don't know. This is why I do go on a little bit later on Tuesdays and maybe Fridays. We'll see. But when I got home, I knew Mark Carney was meeting with Trump today. This is a huge meeting because he ran against Trump, not against his opponent, and he ran against America. And the first clip I seen when I got home was Mark Carney saying Canada would never be part of the United States. And he was saying right in front of Trump. And I said, this is weird. Then I looked into it. They cut the clip right before Trump said, never say never. I think this is the clip. I do got two clips.
We found the full one.
Okay. Well, there's two clips. We'll play this one first. This is the clip I was just talking about, I believe.
They get along very well. They like each other.
Turn it up.
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But the opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build together. And we have done that in the past. And part of that, as the president just said,
Pause it for a quick second. No, I think the audio might be a little low, so I'm just going to repeat a little bit of what he said. He said, Canada's not for sale. It isn't now, or will it ever be. There is a huge separatist movement happening in Alberta right now. So to say Canada's not for sale, yeah, he's right. But the Canadian people in certain provinces may either choose to be independent and vote on that, or they may choose to be part of the United States. And if they do choose to be part of the United States, I would expect the United States to treat them extremely well, because they want to set the precedent with Alberta, if they do join the United States, to kind of entice Greenland and other countries to perhaps join the United States. Also, it's a large block of conservative voters that would come from Alberta. Let's continue.
To our own security. And my government is committed for a step change in our investment in Canadian security and our partnership. And I'll say this as well, that the president has revitalized international security, revitalized NATO, and us playing our full weight in NATO, and that will be part of it.
And they have
Pause it real quick. So Mark Carney's gone there into negotiations. We're not privy to the actual negotiations that had happened, but it looks like what he put forward is we'll back the we'll put up a lot of military funding. We'll start putting more security on the border, things like this. And he's trying to say Canada's not for sale. It looks like Trump didn't buy into that. In the clip I'm going to show in a moment, Trump absolutely annihilates Carney in front of his face, and he is just trying to hold back tears. Let's finish that.
Oh, I thought it was done.
No, Trump responds there.
Okay.
So the part of the whole point of that clip is actually Trump's response.
1 second. Trying to get back to it.
Just drag it.
Let me know when we get.
Keep going all the way at the end.
You won't let me drag it.
Okay, just go to the next clip. That's fine.
Oh, there. For some reason, X is being annoying.
Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep going. Okay, there.
It restarted.
Okay, never mind. Just
honestly,
go to the next. Go to the next clip. It's
don't
fine.
like X. No, wait, I got there.
No, I don't want to play this clip anymore. Go to the next clip.
Okay, then you gotta wait a little bit.
Okay, so in this next clip, Trump just sits Carney absolutely straight, and I can only imagine what went on behind closed doors. He says, we don't want your cars, we don't want your steel, we don't want your aluminum. And the reason they don't want this stuff, and I'm sure Carney thought he was going to have some leverage here, the United States wants to become militarily ready, and they also want to become nationalistic and independent. They have enough natural resources within the United States and Alaska to manufacture their own steel and things like this. They just need to tear down the regulations from the previous liberal administrations. And Canada is highly reliant on the American relationship, but Trump is looking to fundamentally change this relationship, and the way he says it to Carney's face is just crazy. Now, in that last clip, it looked like Carney was saying Canada would never be sold. What you didn't see, because the clip kind of messed up, was Trump says, never say never, and he starts trolling him a little bit. Okay, do we have the next clip?
And Rafa said you were lagging, but it's because I was trying to look this up. So sorry about that. Should be fine now.
Hopefully this one's louder.
Yes.
Okay, let's play.
We want to make our own cars.
Perfect.
We don't really want cars from Canada. And we put tariffs on cars from Canada, and at a certain point, it won't make economic sense for Canada to build those cars. And we don't want steel from Canada because we're making our own steel, and we're having massive steel plants being built right now as we speak. We really don't want Canadian steel, and we don't want Canadian aluminum and various other things because we want to be able to do it ourselves. And we, because of, past thinking of people, we have a tremendous deficit with Canada. In other words, they have a surplus with us.
This is a huge statement, and I was really paying. I watched this clip a few times, and at first I was listening to Trump because it was amazing what he was saying. He's like, "We don't want you. We don't even want your steel, want your other stuff because we're trying to become a nationalistic, self-sustaining country." And Carney was coming in there thinking he had leverage over Trump, but he didn't. But after I listened to it a couple of times and I was kind of watching Trump because he's the main attention getter here, I started watching Carney's face, and Carney is just biting his tongue here. I mean, he has very little negotiating leverage going into this. And then on top of this, the day before, Trump put 100% tariff on the Canadian film industry. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So it's going to be interesting. Carney's really in a tough place here. But I know Trump and Carney had a previous relationship. I had looked into this before the election, and a lot of people don't know. But him and Jared Kushner have a lot of business dealings, and a lot of Trump's third-party business dealings go through Jared Kushner, who is Ivanka Trump's. That's Trump's daughter is married to Jared Kushner. So it's very interesting. They have a lot of digital currency and stablecoin dealings with each other. So I don't really know the relationship between Carney and Trump, but in this negotiation right here, it looks like Trump is really negotiating with all the leverage. Let's continue the clip.
And there's no reason for us to be subsidizing Canada. Canada's a place that will have to be able to take care of itself economically. I assume they can. I will tell you that Trudeau, when I spoke to him, I used to call him Governor Trudeau. I think that probably didn't help his election. But when I spoke to him, I said, so why are we taking your cars? Why are we taking we want to make them ourselves. I mean, I said, and if the price of your cars went up, or if we put a tariff on your cars of 25%, what would that mean to you? He said, that would mean the end of Canada. He actually said that to me. And I said, that's a strange answer. But
and there goes Carney rolling his eyes because he knows Trudeau, when he was in power, gave away the play. The U.S. has all the cards here. And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in this Alberta election. If Carney can't manage to get a good deal with Trump, what he's going to want to do is renegotiate the relationship with Alberta. He may have to end up relying on Alberta and the Alberta energy sector. I know all of Carney's cards right now are in this carbon tax, green energy basket, but that only works if he can work out a deal with the U.S. If he can't, the the Canadian economy is extremely fragile, not just right now, but for the last few years. So Carney really needs to work out a deal here. Let's continue the end of this clip.
I understand his answer, but no, I mean, it's hard to justify subsidizing Canada to the tune of maybe $200 billion a year. We protect Canada militarily, and we always will. We're going to, that's not a money thing. But we always will. But, it's not fair. But why are we subsidizing?
So that was actually a really nice thing he said there, and that is we've always protected Canada militarily. And then he said we always will, and that's not a money thing. It's in America's best interest to protect Canada, but Canada hasn't been protecting itself. It knows it has Big Brother to the south to spend trillions of dollars on its own military. So Canada doesn't have to spend a dime, and it gets to provide healthcare and a healthcare system is barely functional within Canada. I couldn't find a freaking doctor when I was there, but, that was a really nice sentiment that Trump has said. We will always have and always will protect Canada. So yeah, there are negotiations, but Trump isn't using their military power as a leveraging cudgel. Okay, let's keep going.
Canada $200 billion a year, or whatever the number might be. It's a very substantial number. And it's hard for the American taxpayer to say, gee whiz.
Okay, so what if you don't know what's happened over the past couple decades with negotiations with Canada and the United States? Canada has managed to nickel and dime the United States. Basically, Canada has massive 200 and 300% tariffs on dozens and dozens of U.S. products. Well, America barely, previous to Trump, America barely tariffed anything to Canada. And the way Canada was able to negotiate this, every time they went into a small negotiation or the U.S. wanted something, what Canada would ask in return is drop your tariff on our Canadian goods, drop our tariff on Canadian goods. And over a 2-decade period, they were able to get almost all tariffs dropped from America onto Canada, but they were able to maintain all their tariffs on the United States. So when they are saying Trump's tariffs are unreasonable, no, they're completely reasonable on Canada. Canada likes to tariff America to the hilts. A lot of other countries don't tariff. Canada and India specifically love to use tariffs and on America. So for that to see them complaining about these tariffs is a little bit hypocritical. Other countries, they have more of an open relationship and they don't tariff the United States. So maybe it is a little bit ridiculous for the United States to be tariffing them. Okay. And I think that was it for Carney there. Did you happen to get anything about the Romania elections?
Maybe. Let me double check. It seems like people are experiencing lags, but it keeps getting fixed and then going back into being laggy. So sorry about that.
Okay, tomorrow we're going to try. Oh, did you record this, by the way?
Oh, no.
Okay, why don't you press record now? Just so we can do the test later so I can see if it does record.
Well, we don't have anywhere to record to, so we can't record it right now.
What do you mean nowhere to record to?
We don't have a card that will fit the recording.
Why don't I just grab the card right there and we'll do that?
We can try to do that tomorrow.
No, I need to do it today because I only have 3 more days before I want to start clipping.
The thing is, I would have to reset the whole thing.
Okay, never mind. Well, there's just a record button right there. What's the problem with it?
That I'd have to go into the Windows, create a new thing for the record card.
Okay, just leave it. Tomorrow we do have the Ethernet cable. We'll try to do it directly. I'll look up today. So hopefully there's going to be no lag tomorrow. I apologize again. This is a new technical setup. We're using a different computer. It's a little slower. So yesterday it was audio issues. Today it's lag issues. We seem to work out the audio issues. So hopefully we can work out the lag issues. I'm just going to continue as if there's no problems because there's not much I can do at this point.
Yep.
I will talk a little bit about the Romanian elections now, though. I don't know if you remember, there was an election in Romania very recently, and the person that was running was Georgescu. He was running on a platform of they want to tear down the largest NATO military base in the EU, which they are currently building. They do not want NATO into their country because NATO is planning to launch a huge attack, most likely, I would guess, on Russia. But this would put Romania directly in the crosshairs of not only Russia, but a lot of other countries. It puts a target on your back when you have one of the largest military bases within the EU, which all the logistics are going to kind of run out of. But what happened was Georgescu ran in the election. He won the election with a landslide, and then the EU canceled the election after the results already came in, meaning Georgescu wasn't president. So he said, okay, fine, I'll run again. So he submitted his papers to run again, and they disqualified him from running, and then they prosecuted him with fake charges, disqualifying him from running in this election. What happened, and now it's a shit show kind of for the EU here. Georgescu's right-hand man is running in his place, and he says, I'm running for Georgescu because Georgescu can't run, and if I win, I'm going to put Georgescu in a very high position within the Romanian government. That's number one. But number two, because he is his right-hand man, and Georgescu's supposed to get a high position in his administration, I'm guessing he has the same policy of no NATO bases in Romania, which I think is a good policy, and it's an anti-war policy, which I'm always against anti-war, whether it's in Ukraine, whether it's in Israel, whether it's in Palestine, or whether it's in Romania. I'm all for the United States spending money on its military and nationalizing its military rather than trying to colonize the rest of the world with its military. So we'll see what happens, but Georgescu's right-hand man, who is now running in his place, won the pre-election in a landslide. So it looks like going into the main election, he's going against the EU globalist candidate, and the EU globalist candidate, it looks like he's going to lose, and he's going to lose by a lot. So this whole thing has really backfired on the EU by trying to disqualify Georgescu. They would have been better off just letting him in and trying to deal with him or pay him off or something. Okay, I just wanted to give that update on the Romanian election, because the Romania election, much like Canadian politics, is going to have a huge impact on the globe. Romanian elections specifically will dictate the military incursions within Eastern Europe going forward. So that's where they want to put all the logistics and things like that. They want to put them in Romania. And so, okay, let's go into... what's the next article you got for me? Was that the Wall Street?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you read a little bit of this?
So Wall Street loses ground, breaking a 9-day winning streak, and crude oil prices tumble. Stocks closed lower on Wall Street Monday, breaking a 9-day winning streak as oil prices hit a 4-year low after OPEC Plus group announced plans to increase output. The losses came amid a relatively calm day of mostly mixed trading. They follow several weeks of gains that helped the market wipe away its losses since the ongoing trade war began. The S&P 500 fell 36.29 points, or 0.6, to 5,650. The decline broke the benchmark index longest winning streak since 2004.
And this is huge news, not just for the American economy, but a lot of economies around the world. This means lower oil prices. The only people this is bad for is maybe Alberta. Alberta can't drill for oil when oil prices go below a certain amount because they have what's called oil sands. It costs more for them to extract their oil. But for everybody else in the world, this is huge news. Low oil prices mean cheap manufacturing. This is good for nationalized economies and things like this. This is the perfect time, especially if it's a long-term oil price drop for the United States. They're trying to reshore their manufacturing. They need cheap energy at this point. They haven't built the nuclear facilities yet. That's going to take at least half a decade to start building those. Oil and natural gas is the immediate solution. So I'm sure Trump's loving to see this. Also, we can remember Biden used up all the United States oil reserves, which was crazy because that was supposed to be used on for the military in an emergency. And he used them all up because he was trying to get reelected and he was trying to lower oil prices. And it didn't even really do that. So the fact that OPEC is lowering oil prices, this is inadvertently really helping Trump right now. So I'm sure he's loving this. We'll see if oil prices actually stay down. Okay. Let's continue to move on here. Let's go to Okay, this one's good. Read the headline, and then I'll talk a little bit about this.
1 second. So, threatened by Trump tariffs, Japan walks a delicate tightrope between U.S. and China.
Okay. So I put this in here for a very specific reason. A lot of countries right now are trapped between the US and China. Like who? Like the Canadian government, like the Australian government. The Australian government, the Liberals just won a huge re-election over there, same as in Canada, and they're trying to negotiate with China and the US. The EU's in the same predicament here. The U.S. is trying to tell these countries, you need to pick a side, you need to pick a side. He's trying to negotiate with tariffs to have them cut China off. A lot of countries are trying to play both sides. Not too many countries are good at negotiating. We've seen what's happening with Mark Carney today. He wants to keep this relationship with China alive and America. It's not going to happen. He's going to have to pick a side, and Trump's putting him in that spot. We just seen the clip. And I'm sure Carney's in for some really tough decisions. But Japan is probably one of the best traditional negotiators when it comes to playing both sides. They've treated America extremely, extremely well. And they've kept China at bay, but kept the relationship open. So if any country in the world is going to be able to actually have a trade deal with China and have a trade deal with the US as US-China tensions raise, it is Japan. So a lot of other countries might want to pay attention to this and really start taking notes to what Japan is doing and how they're going to try to really negotiate these waters. Japan has always had really good politicians and really good negotiators, and they've always kind of put Japan first. So we'll kind of see what happens. The second reason I put this in here was before China was China and was the manufacturing hub and was really challenging the United States dominance, Japan was what China is today. And in the late 90s, the U.S. really took out Japan and took out the Japanese economy, but they played ball with the U.S. and they were giving a pretty prominent foothold on the world stage because they really didn't fight back. They're nothing of the world power they used to be, but their economy didn't completely collapse. China has a completely different game plan. They're going head to head with the US. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. Okay, let's go into the next story, and that is the Met Gala photos. Did you get those?
Yes, let me just go grab them.
And I'm going to have Natalia talk about this, Nat talk about this a little bit, because she was saying last night how she wanted to talk about the Met Gala photos.
Well, I wanted to talk about it on our show together.
Oh, is she pregnant?
Yes, apparently, again.
Oh, okay.
Nobody's watching.
Oh, and I'm going to tell you, when I see this, the first thing I think of, other than the fact that she's pregnant, is the hat. It is a horrible hat. Melania Trump did a similar hat, and she did it 1,000 times better.
Well, but maybe let's explain what the theme is supposed to be for the Met Gala.
Oh, okay.
So it was supposed to be celebrating Black style, called Superfine Tailoring Black Style. So it was all supposed to be around tailoring and the ways the Black community has used tailoring in the past.
Okay. So do you have anything to say about Rihanna's dress there?
Meh, I mean, she tried. Don't love the bottom part.
Well, it's hard when you're pregnant
and she's pregnant, yeah,
to do anything. But I will say this, she does have the pinstripe dress, which kind of reminds me of a pantsuit. And later on, we're going to look at some of these photos, and you're really seeing the women dress very masculine and the men dress very feminine.
The point was tailoring. Tailoring is suits. So everybody was supposed to wear suits.
Yeah,
so the girls that wore dresses were actually out of the theme.
Yeah, but the men wore dresses as well, which was crazy.
They wore capes.
That's not a cape. That's a
cape.
What is he, a freaking wizard?
He's wearing, so that's Coleman Domingo. Coleman Domingo is always wearing very extravagant things.
He looks like a satanic high priest. Okay, let's continue to go.
Oh, it's not going to want to load.
Oh, there. We got another man.
So Lewis Hamilton, F1 racer, some sort of racer.
This looks horrible. What, a beret? A white beret?
Well, again, remember, think of Black style in the 80s and 90s. They were wearing a lot of berets back then.
Yeah, but okay.
Pharrell Williams, too simple. I mean, there's detailing on
The bell bottoms are very feminine as well.
That's from the 80s.
I know it's from the 80s, but I'm going to continue.
The 70s, actually.
There's a reason that style went out, and it's because it's too feminine.
It was considered masculine back then. Has A$AP Rocky. He was one of the hosts. He's Rihanna's husband or boyfriend or whatever.
He's one of the best dressed there so far.
Baby daddy. Well, he's the host, so he should be.
He looks normal. Halfway normal.
Emma Chamberlain. Yeah, she's an influencer. I don't know why they keep inviting them.
But I would say of all the people that are dressed, that's okay.
Horrible?
It's a lot better than a lot of the other ones. That's the thing.
No.
It might be horrible,
See-through gloves,
but when you're really at the bottom of the barrel, it's actually okay.
The long tails are also very significant for black tailoring style. So she's on theme. This one's not on theme, really.
I'm the bride and the groom. I'm non-binary,
Victoria. Lala Anthony, I don't even know who that is.
Whoa.
Tiana Taylor. So she...
Straight out of Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory.
Funnily enough, she is on theme, so don't love it, but at least...
I don't care if they're on theme. She's out of Willy...
But she's got the chains, she's got the cane, she's got the hat.
Is she a
That's
pimp?
like dandy style. That's the thing. That's what dandy style means, which is part of what the theme is. So at least they're respecting the theme.
I'd rather look good than respect the theme.
This is horrible.
Is that a man or a woman?
That's a woman.
That's a woman?
Or
is that a man with makeup?
It's a woman. I have no idea who that is.
I think that's a man with... You said you don't know who it is, so I think it's a man.
No, it's a girl. You can tell. But it's not nice. Zendaya, I mean, she can do no wrong. So, fashion-wise. So, that was nice.
And she's built like a tall boy.
And here, I mean, this is too easy. She's doing some sort of tails. This is Hailey Bieber, Justin Bieber's wife.
But her legs kind of look like chicken legs or something.
She's wearing tights.
Something looks weird about her legs.
She's wearing black tights.
But usually that would be sexy when you show that much leg, but it doesn't look sexy. It just looks like two things dangling out there, doesn't it? And she's a good looking woman.
I would have put pants on her, like some sort of skirt, but whatever. Rafa says, horrible suit. Which one? Because, I mean, all of them.
Oh, she looks good.
Kendall Jenner. So this is part of the Kardashian clan.
She at least wore a dress.
She's doing suiting. It's a suit.
But is pants?
And at least she's slightly more covered up than all the other Kardashians. So that's something.
Okay. I guess we can move on because I think you're going to want to go
no idea who that is.
To this later tonight.
There's a lot of people I had no idea who that is.
Okay.
This one. Barney on Ozempic.
What the? Sparkle Barney. Oh my God.
There's a lot of like this type of... I've been quickly looking at some of the photos and a lot of them are kind of like this.
Okay, let's go into the attempt to blow Google up. Back to politics after that nice little break into culture.
Well, I don't know how much culture...
Yeah, we've talked about the story quite a bit, but the U.S. government is really ramping this up. They're trying to really tear apart the advertising monopoly Google really has. Why don't you go into it a little bit and talk about it?
So, U.S. expands attempt to blow up Google with proposed teardown of its ad technology. The U.S. Justice Department is doubling down on its attempt to break up Google by asking a federal judge to force the company to part with some of the technology powering the company's digital ad network. The proposed dismantling coincides with an ongoing federal effort to separate Google's Chrome browser from its dominant search engine. The government's latest proposal was filed late Monday in a Virginia federal court 2.5 weeks after a federal judge ruled that its lucrative digital ad network had been improperly abusing its market power to stifle competition to the detriment of online publishers.
Yeah, and I just don't really know. I'm all for against monopolies. I'm not a big fan of Google, but these big tech giants that do have this technological advantage, if you keep breaking it up, China is just going to swoop in there. I was watching a short documentary on YouTube yesterday about Huawei, and I didn't realize how far Huawei's come with their integrated system. So first they surpassed Google, no problem, because they built their system from the ground up. But now Apple It's not even as smooth on Apple when you do airdrops and things like that. And Apple is the best within the United States for integrated systems, but it's also a closed system. Huawei is an open system that is really putting everything from TVs into their cars, into their phones, and it's all integrated together. So if you start opening up these taking this technology away from really the giants of the tech industry in the United States, you're going to give Huawei a huge advantage. I don't know what you really do because it's a lose-lose situation.
But so on this, it's more about their ads and how they're able to run ads within Google and search engine ads.
Yes, but it's also about the technology. That's what they're currently asking them to do. I understand it's about their ads, but that was the first phase, was just going after their ad monopoly. The second phase is actually going through the technology that runs that ad monopoly.
Oh, and Rafa says the bell bottoms were cool. They were interesting. I'll just put it that way.
Okay. I'm not a big fan of bell bottoms at all. On females, they can be not bad. On men, I don't think they look good.
No.
Okay. Number one, because if
I don't like them on feet.
If they're proper length, they tend to drag and have a hole in the back. And if they're too short, they just flood and they look ridiculous. You look like a clown.
Yeah.
Okay, next is DoorDash. So read a little bit of this, and then you knew a couple little tidbits about this that I didn't.
Well, it's not about this. It's just about DoorDash in general. I don't believe we have DoorDash here in Mexico, but
we don't.
No. So DoorDash rings up record first quarter revenue and expands delivery reach through acquisitions. DoorDash is reporting record quarterly revenue, even as more Americans feel increasingly uneasy about the U.S. economy. And I was just talking about how also DoorDash apparently expanded its capabilities and allows now like Afterpay services. I believe they partnered with Klarna, which lets you...
Explain what an Afterpay service is to the audience.
So...
Because I didn't know until you explained it to me, and that's a horrible idea.
So,
especially with the economy in the United States and people are paycheck to paycheck.
Yes. So Klarna, Afterpay, there's another one I'm forgetting. They all allow you to essentially buy now, pay later. So they're BNPL. That's the acronym for it. And what they do is... let's say, I don't know, you're in DoorDash and you want to get a burrito. So instead of paying it right then, right there, you sign up for the service. And what they do is allow you to defer payments along 4 weeks. So for the next 4 weeks, if it's a $10 burrito, you'll get like 25% taken off of your whatever account you connected. But then if you miss a payment, there's crazy tariffs for it. So, for example, it's 30%. What's it called? When you have a
30% surfy.
Yeah. So a fee. Exactly.
Yeah,
you get a 30% fee on top of what you
have. This is crazy because the only people that want to make payment plans for a $10 burrito or some kind of low cost food item are people that their bank account is near zero. And I used to live like that a lot. So I understand, okay, you don't have quite enough money to eat, but I have enough money to make the first payment. So people that are living that close to zero in their bank accounts, very often when the next payment comes up, they are going to have zero in their bank account. Mm-hmm. Or when the end of the month comes, they're going to have zero. So those 30% surcharges are just going to keep taxing on every time.
Yeah, they're predatory companies. Now they're also saying they want to do it for groceries and other services like day-to-day services. Before they were being employed on like Sephora, Lululemon, like bigger, not big purchases, but bigger.
But also when the economy is going well, nobody needs services like that. But when the economy is in dire straits, how it is in Canada and in the EU, and people are really living close to zero, these become predatory practices because people know they're not going to be able to make the payment.
And it's mini lending.
It's kind of sad that they can't make a $10 payment.
And it's mini lending, and it just allows the American public to continue to rely on debt and credit, which is breaking a lot of people financially.
Oh, yeah. Okay. We only have 2 more stories here, and we're almost out of time. Maybe I'll go 2 minutes over. Let's go into Mattel's plan to raise prices on some toys.
So Mattel plans to raise prices on some toys to offset, tariff costs. Mattel Inc. says it will have to raise prices for some products sold in the U.S. where necessary to offset higher costs related to President Trump's tariffs.
Okay, and this is a bad plan by Mattel. Why? Because they're telling the general public, we're going to continue to buy our toys from China and we're going to charge you a tariff, rather than eating the cost and bringing manufacturing to the United States and then promoting off the back, this is American-made toys, which in reality, it probably costs about the same to bring manufacturing back to the United States. This also shows they don't think the tariffs are going to be a long-term thing. If they did think it, they would bring their manufacturing back to the United States. Also, these are cheap Chinese toys. If manufacturing was brought back to the United States and it's going to cost more to manufacture, you're going to make more high quality toys and things like that. And man, I would really like to see the toy industry change from little dolls like this into games that really make kids think and be more interactive. But
well, dolls are important for girls, but for the development of femininity among girls.
These DEI dolls, just I don't know. Okay, and the last one, Trump upholds ban on transgender military. And you just got the story right before we got on air, and I told you to write it down. And you did.
So I don't have it, but...
Okay, but let's just talk about the concept.
If I try to find it, it'll lag again.
Okay, so the Supreme Court upholds Trump's ban on transgendered in military, meaning he can disqualify all transgendered from serving in the military, which honestly, I think it is a good idea just because they're not going to be able to take combat roles. The U.S. military was doing some crazy things. They were paying for any soldiers sex change they wanted, things like this. And when they did get that sex change, they would need like 9 months off of work, all kinds of crazy things. They would need permanent medical hormones, and they would need a lot of time off work, which was really hindering their job.
And also the mental acuity that comes with having a condition like that. I mean, your mental acuity decreases because you're not only concentrating on just that, but for the longest time until very recently, it was constituted as a disorder. So.
Yeah. There was also something else I was going to say here, but I guess that's it for today. Well, we are going to be back on tonight. If you haven't liked or subscribed, please like and subscribe. This is an extremely small channel. Our other channel is on our main channel, so I'm trying to grow this one right now. Every single like and subscription really does help. We have another show that's in Spanish on Nat and the Guy Espanol. That's a separate channel that comes on at 8 o'clock tonight. It's with Nat. I'll be on the mic, but she rarely asks me a question. And then we'll be back here on this channel at 9:15 with Nat and the Guy live. That's on our other set on the other side of the room. And it's our more permanent show.
And thank you, Rafa, for all your comments. Thank you for letting us know it was lagging. We do have to fix the encoding, but thank you for letting us know.
Yeah, it was nice to have somebody actually watching live and who made a comment. So
yes, thank you, Rafa.
Okay. You can cut the stream.